If you open your Twitter right now, Dan Snyder is trending everywhere. And although we tried to learn as much as we possibly could when this was initially reported, it feels like more and more has been sent from the Oversight Committee to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. So the Oversight Committee has been doing an investigation, and they got a guy named Friedman, who's the former vice president of the Washington football team, to testify about everything that has been happening. So not only was there money being hid from other NFL owners in the rev share department of ticket sales, they were hiding that money in college games and other events. So whenever he was initially reported that the juice goes to Navy Notre Dame would play at FedEx Field, but money that was stolen from ticketing that was in NFL games would then be allocated to there so that the NFL couldn't get their hands on it because it was a college football game. I guess that happened with a lot of different events and ticket sales. So the initial reports were that 2 different books were coming out. So Snyder and the Washington football team, through their history, they had their book that they probably had to run through the goddamn government taxes and everything. Then there was a book that they would present to the NFL about money that was made, and that was wrong. They were skimming, I guess, money out of that so they didn't have to share as much with the entire NFL ownership. If what we are reading from this investigation is accurate, I assume Snyder will have an answer, and Snyder's probably going to have to sell his team quickly after all this shit comes out, because also it is being reported that they would make it impossible for people to get their security deposits back, which were multiple thousands of dollars people would have to put down to buy their season tickets. I guess there was direct reporting or directing from Snyder to make it impossible for people to get their security deposits back. Like, hey, don't accept it via email. They have to do all these other things. So they would get people's security deposits and then make it impossible for people to get back after they got their season tickets. So that was allegedly like $5 million worth of shit. So not only are they bamboozling other owners, now they're potentially fucking over their fans. And I would assume there's other stuff that's going to come to light. Snyder's trending right now, and it is worse than I think any of us thought it was financially, even though morally all the exposés that came out would lead us to believe that they would be fucking over their business owners or business partners if they could, AJ. It is only a matter of time, it feels like, before the Commanders are under new ownership.
Absolutely. It feels like if any of this is true, then how does he keep the team? But is this a criminal investigation or is this just civil right now? Where are we?
I'm not 100% sure how this entire investigation began. I wonder if it all came from the exposés about what was going on behind closed doors in their culture and environment. And then that just kind of led them to this and other reports and investigations. And
was he subpoenaed? This guy subpoenaed by somebody to go testify?
The Oversight Committee, I do believe, the Congressional Oversight Committee is right. Is that what it's called? Yeah. The Oversight Committee that the former Washington Commanders Vice President Jason Friedman told the Oversight Committee that the Commanders had 2 sets of books and intentionally allocated NFL revenue to non-NFL events at FedEx Field, concerts, college games, etc., so that it wouldn't be part of the NFL's revenue sharing pool. This comes from a tweet. The U.S. House Oversight Committee has sent a 20-page letter to the Federal Trade Commission saying the Washington Commanders and owner Daniel Snyder may have engaged in a troubling, long-running, and potentially unlawful pattern of financial conduct. So, morally, what was being talked about in that building was terrible.
Right.
Okay? Absolutely terrible. Business ethics, I think, we're all fucked up in the way you operate. But once it gets into the finances as well as that, I mean, it feels like it's only a matter of time, but I guess he was really running quite a fucking racket over there, which makes sense with what everybody else was saying about how the building was run as a whole,
But he's screwing over the other owners. He's screwing over the people you can't mess with.
Scumbag.
Yeah.
What's that?
This dude's a scumbag, it sounds like.
I mean, isn't that what people have been saying forever? I feel like, does anyone stand up and defend Dan Snyder when it comes to anything?
We have never. Okay, I'll say something about anybody basically on this show, negative, and I'll get somebody that'll send me like, hey, actually good dude or whatever. Depending on who it is. It could be long. I mean, we talk about a lot of stuff on this show. But it will be from all different genres, all different fields, top to bottom. I'll get somebody, if somebody says something negative, and they'll go like, hey, actually, pretty good dude. I don't think we have ever.
No.
Ever. I don't think I've ever heard anybody be like, Snyder's actually a pretty good guy. Kind of misunderstood. Feels like everybody fucking hates the guy. And I would assume it's because of shit like this. Here's a tweet from Warren Sharp. Whoa, this is big, he says. For the last decade, since 2012, Dan Snyder has underreported ticket revenue per the investigation. He raised prices and categorized surplus revenue as bogus licensing fees related to concerts, college football games to prevent sharing with other owners. So this is the juice that he was putting on, what he was telling them they were selling tickets for. That whole 55 and 44, I don't think was the actual numbers. Feels like the NFL numbers were probably much different because NFL tickets are differently. Then they would just take that money and put it to somewhere else so they didn't even have to talk about it. Wow. Wow. And all these other business owners, all these other billionaires, all these other cutthroat motherfuckers that hire the best negotiators on earth, by the way, the NFL. That's why you have 31 billionaires, lawyers and negotiators going against the NFLPA. Okay, so normally they're going to win. Think about all the other owners going, Snyder, you don't think we could have all fucking done this, you motherfucker?
Yeah.
Huh? You don't think we all haven't had this thought? You think you're smarter than all of us, you piece of shit? Like, that's how they'll probably be offended that, like, we had talked about doing this to you and we would never do this. Like, this is something that we are in a league together because of it. And this is how the dominoes start to fall quicker, I think, for the NFL saying, hey, Snyder, get the fuck out of here. If that is what the NFL wants to do, and if all of this is true, which I guess we definitely have to put on the end of this entire thing.
But what about with Dan Snyder? So when like the whole revenue sharing thing, he's hiding revenue from, I would imagine he's already bringing in what some of the, he's contributing, hit the percentage of the sales from game day for him has got to be on the low end of the spectrum when you look at the NFL from top to bottom, right?
Well, I don't know. They have a massive...
Yeah, it's huge, but they tarp off the whole top area because it's too big.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing that. Are they doing that?
I'm saying if you have that, they have done that. I don't know if they still do that, but he's already putting in a small amount, I would imagine, and then he's lying about that and even contributing less because he's skimming off the top other money. Like, that's why. Like, how could they not be pissed?
So we've been a part of some rev share situations with people, and I understand it. In theory, it's a great idea, I think.
Like what? What kind of rev share have you been a part of?
No, just like in our business. Like, most people get some sort of rev share too when they get new advertisers, and in this podcast world, they get in there. Whenever you do a rev share, there has to be a lot of transparency. Like, there has to be a lot of transparency. And believe it or not everybody is as transparent, as you would think with all of their books, because if they're not buttoned up completely and you happen to have a guy that understands the numbers pretty well, which we have a goddamn shark in Phil. I mean, Phil is so damn good at what he does, and he knows it, and by the way, we're lucky to have him, but that involves a lot of transparency. There's probably full pitch decks, by the way, that Friedman had to do to the other money people in the rev share situation on how their ticketing's going. This is the amount of money that they made. This is how it's sold. And I would assume that everybody in there is like, well, they're not going to just completely. I mean, that's a lot of shit. That's like running another book is a lot of. I mean, that's a full. You got to do a whole nother full-time job, basically, doing that.
A lot of work, a lot of added stress too to your job. I can't imagine.
Yeah. So you would assume that the other NFL owners, though, and their people, their money people, are just assuming that, hey, we're not cooking an entire fake book here. Like you would assume.
Yeah. You would assume that that's not the case. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would wonder if any of them have enough time to let's go over Washington's numbers again. What did they say they made?
They probably get audited all the time, though, don't they?
Well, the audit would come from the government then, right?
Yeah, but I would imagine a guy like Dan Snyder in Washington, they would choose to audit him as much as they could.
Yeah, but they had a government book, so that one was.
Oh, This goes deep. We're going to find out a lot.
Yeah, so this is they have a government book, so the IRS, we know the IRS will dive in and not give a fuck. So we got to have our actual shit there, our P's and Q's.
He's probably like, hey, I don't want to go to jail. I'll go to jail for that. I don't want to mess with them, but I can screw over the other owners
but
and my fans.
Our presented books to the NFL are going to be a little bit,
just a little different.
Just a little different.
I'm sure they justify it. Don't you think he justifies all these people getting $4 billion to build a new stadium? I can't even get a new stadium. I got poop pipes burst in. I got nothing. I'm sure he justifies it in his own way.
Yeah, well, or maybe he is just what everybody says.
Yeah, just a huge piece
terrible
of shit.
guy.
I would love to know. I would love to know people that know him well and say, what is this dude really like?
Well, it sounds like we do know. Allegedly. A lot of allegedlys, though. I mean, there has been a lot of bam. This guy stinks, this guy stinks, this guy's the worst. Oh my God, worst human of all time. How the fuck does he have his job? Why is this guy the owner of a team right now that has a lot of fan base? Oh, their entire fans fucking hate him too. Oh, nobody likes this guy. Does anybody like this guy? Nope. He's going to continue to keep cooking the books though and fucking everybody over until he gets his last dollar in his day.
Well, then you look at a guy like Jason Wright too. It's like how like he can't do his job. Like he's not going to be successful. He's
got no shot.
You're fighting this battle while the fucking owner is screwing over the entire fan base, like right underneath your nose. Like feel bad for him, kind of.
Let's go to the security deposit stuff. Zito said he has a little bit more information on this. According to information and documents obtained by the Oversight Committee, House Oversight Committee, who's doing an investigation, for over a decade, Commander's executives may have withheld millions of dollars in refundable security deposits owed to customers upon the expiration of their multi-year seat leases and may have taken steps to prevent customers from collecting these deposits. According to a former team executive, the Commanders failed to properly refund those security deposits intentionally and took various steps to retain as much of that money as possible. Documents indicate that as of 2016, the team may have retained up to $5 million in deposits from approximately 2,000 different customers. Now they have like a 90,000, I think their stadium holds like 90,000 people. So from 2,000 people, they got about $5 million worth of deposits, allegedly. Now, how do you make it impossible for people to get their security deposits back? Well, there's only one particular way to get paid. You got to go through these hoops. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do that. Probably a few $1,000s from everybody. I mean, we could do some quick math over the years. However, 2,000 people, $5 million, however many years, somebody can figure that out. But to the people that are probably buying these seat leases and buying season tickets, that couple $1,000, I don't want to say it gets forgotten about, but it probably does just become something like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, and I got to do this. They probably just think I'll deal with it later, and they never do. And like Snyder's like probably taking advantage of their emotions there.
Yeah, and who is going to re-up or all of a sudden buy season tickets to Washington now? Like, who is going to become a new fan? You going to pick anybody up?
And what if this? Now listen, we have to. What if this is all a lie though? Like, what if this? What if Snyder's just sitting there? What? I wish we would have done that. We didn't fucking do that. We just weren't selling it for as much as everybody. Like, what if it is a disgruntled employee, which is what everybody's describing Friedman as, who's the former vice president of the team, who is now, handing basically everything over?
Did he have to speak to whoever the FTC, whoever?
Yeah, like would he be lying to the committee or to isn't that a crime?
People have lied before.
For sure. It'd be one thing if this was the only thing ever to come out about Dan Snyder.
Yeah, you're right.
And be like, oh, this guy's. But I mean, this is a lot.
I would just like to, say that we have to say this is all alleged.
Yeah,
sure.
Right.
Because they're presenting to the FTC on whether or not to present a case and go for it or not. But Snyder's dead in the water, it sounds like.
Yeah, and this could be like a pretty quick turnaround, right? Because not allegedly, but could they just go to the other owners who are bidding currently on the Broncos and be like, hey, you're not going to get this, but also we're going to put this team up for sale?
No, they would have to open it back up.
Okay.
Because there's probably people, like everybody thought Bezos wanted to own the Washington team because the Washington Post is in there and everything like that. But Bezos probably wants to own a team on a beach. The guy's on a fucking yacht every day.
Yeah.
True.
So I would assume they would open it back up because these teams don't really go up for sale often.
No.
So they'd be able to turn it from a very negative situation, which is what it currently sounds like, into a super positive, like, hey, here we go. We got a new team for sale. But, I mean, they've been trying to get this dude out for, being an asshole for a long time. This one would have to be it, right? But there's a memes on the internet, actually. Dan Snyder does something. Everybody says, oh, they're going to fucking force him to sell a team. Mm-hmm. And then it's like 2 months later, Dan Snyder's sitting above the poop pipes that are bursting, still owning the team.
Yeah.
So,